Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And we're going to continue our delve into the details of Polish history with Professor Krzysztof Jabłonka. Professor, welcome. Can I start by asking this question? For many people, of course, the Cossacks are associated with the Ukraine, but of course many Cossacks were originally Polish. How did they happen to be Cossacks in Poland?
Takim ciekawym właśnie zjawiskiem jest...
An interesting phenomenon is the shift of certain layers of the population. Let us remember that in the Commonwealth, in the Crown of Poland, in large part also in Lithuania and Belarus, there was serfdom law, which meant assignment to the land. This meant that more ambitious individuals fled to where they could not be caught. At that time, Ukraine was something of a wild east. On the other hand, the princely or kniaz layer, originally Ruthenian, Polonized themselves by adopting Catholicism from Orthodoxy. Furthermore, they adopted the Polish language instead of Ukrainian, which at the time was Ruthenian. Similar to how part of Europe speaks English today, this part of Europe used to speak Polish at the time. And so the layers shifted. The lower layers effectively became Ukrainian-Russian layers. At that time, the word Sol Ukraine simply meant borderland. It was rather a geographical term, a bit cultural, but not political. It wasn't until the 17th century that it acquired the characteristics of a separate area gathering a lot of different people. And so the families of Ostrowski, Zasławski, Kisiel, the outstanding families of Rurykowicz, bearing St. George in their coat of arms. It was these magnates that were to act as representatives of the Republic of Poland. They were already considered Poles. The Sapiecha or Lubomirski families are Poles, but they were once Potocki. They originated from Zoloty Potik in Podolia, and vice versa. Even small Polish nobility was Ruthenized. They adopted certain rituals, hence why the Ukrainian language is understandable to Poles. They became Cossacks. The Cossack were somewhere between the nobility and the people. They originated from the people, but they were born to fight. It was said that they would hold a saber in their hand, and the saber granted them freedom. How did this come to be? There was simply no one to defend this borderland. It was considered an open steppe. And every year, and sometimes even twice a year, powerful Tatar invasions ravaged this area, which is mainly why it had to be redeveloped. This is what the free peoples were needed for. In the Tatar language, Cossack directly translates to robber or free man, something of a Robin Hood of the steppe, these Slavic Cossacks. Hence, we can say that at least 50% of the Cossacks are Poles, and at least 80% of the magnates are Ruthenians. Another enormous shift was in religion. The population was faithful to the Orthodox Church, later Greek Catholic, that is, the part of Orthodoxy that took over the union with Rome, and the magnates opted to so-called high culture brought by the Baroque, and with it the Jesuit order and Roman Catholicism.
A z nią zakon jezuitów I rzymski katolicyzm.
So, Professor, how did these pirates of the steppe, or I think you said Robin Hoods of the steppe, come to enter into the service of the Polish king?
Przede wszystkim trzeba pamiętać, że to...
First of all, it should be remembered that it was the Polish king, Sigismund I the Old, who initiated the creation of organized Cossack groups. Earlier, these groups were being organized independently in Zaporozhian Sikh, which was a site fortified by a homeland. The motherland of Cossacks was the famous island Khortytsia, which was already a reinforced defensive stronghold. Also, quite quickly, because at the end of the 15th century, in 1476, the Crimean Khanate was nominally subordinated to the Ottoman Porte, or the Turks in short, but they behaved independently and invaded the Kingdom of Poland, Ukrainian lands, whenever they wanted. And when the king sent his protests to the Sultan replied saying that he had no influence on these Tatars. And then the Poles organized something similar. When the Cossacks invaded Istanbul and burned the gardens to the Sultan writes a letter to the king. The king, however, says, "I have no influence over them. They govern themselves." They served as such anti-Tatars in the form of Cossacks. Ostap Dashkevich was an organizer of the Cossacks who in 1526 created the first mobile raiding units. At the time, there was a custom that when the war broke out, the Republic of Poland would accept Cossack troops as mercenaries, making them regular armies of the country. However, a constant struggle was the lack of money. This was not a direct result of Poland's economic struggles, but of the philosophy of the nobility itself, which did not want to bestow upon the king a permanent army. There was always the fear that the king would use his armies against the nobility. Although it was the right way of thinking, it was proven harmful to the development of land security, meaning that these lands were made to protect themselves. Those who risked their lives defending the steppe in the fight against the Tatars, of course, wanted nobility rights. It was astonishing. The Cossack uprisings in these areas of Ukraine were not breaking out with intention of parting with the Republic of Poland, at least not the Khmelnytsky uprising, but to join it as a nobility.
Przynajmniej do Chmielnickiego, tylko żeby się do niej przyłączyć, ale jako szlachta.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for on this episode, so it remains for me to say thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and do join us again on Poland Daily History.